You're watching World Championship Wreckage, professional wrestling history the way the fans remember. Brought to you by Rivet City Radio and the World Championship Wreckage YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's episode.
Whoa, 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 whoa. It's season 2, baby. We're changing it up. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wreckage here on the World Championship Wreckage YouTube channel. As always, I am your friendly neighborhood dad hat wearing wrestling fan. Join with me, as always, by, we might as well just tell everybody, we're like the brother that was separated from birth,
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go too far. They only moved one state side by side of each other. But hey, we were separated at birth. My buddy from Rivet City Radio and Botched and Share Shot, chef by trade and mark by choice. You know him, you love him. The Will Ray. What's up, buddy?
Hey, bud.
Hey.
I'm going to preemptively apologize for all my Attitude Era fans who are going to listen to this because I'm about to shit on your era.
I might right along with you. And Jordan with us, XLJ. We're recording this quite late. So XLJ was sleepy and went to bed. But that's okay, because some weeks I might be sleepy and go to bed. But I'm always sleepy. I'm a dad. But Jordan with us for the first time. Very highly anticipated guest. Been waiting to have him on from the #1 podcast over on Pornhub, Smacking It Raw, the Warden, Matt Ritter. What's up, buddy? Thanks for coming on.
Call me Triple XL Matt for today.
Triple XL.
Triple XL, Matt.
I also felt like I needed a hat. Like it's Dad hat, and you guys all had hats, so I went and got a hat.
I just wear a hat so you guys don't get blinded by the glare. So
Where'd you get that fedora?
It's Bray Wyatt fedora, actually.
I didn't expect you to get it. It's an Office reference.
There's
an episode where Ryan's wearing a fedora and everybody asks him, where'd you get that fedora? And every time somebody asks, he says the line like 10 times. He's like, I'd rather not say. And it's like the whole thing for the entire episode. He does it like 10 times.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about
that episode. As you know, I was a Parks and Rec guy, so.
That's cool. You got them after the writers caught their stride. So you got all of the good without any of the bad. So you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to struggle through the
the
Robert seasons. Yeah, the Robert California Office. You didn't have to deal with that.
Oh, Robert. Hey, it's not Will Ferrell who's juggling with nothing in his hands. So,
hey, I will stand by the fact that was the worst crossover in history.
Yeah.
They went from Steve Carell to Will Ferrell, and that was the worst call made. Sorry, Matt. This is an Office. An Office podcast. I hope you.
I was going to say, you guys have you watched the wrong fucking show.
Yeah. So today we're gonna journey back to 1998. It's one of my favorite years in wrestling. 98 and 99. But so Matt, when Matt and I were talking, I was like, "What do you want to talk about? I want to get you on. I don't really care what we talk about." He had a list of certain things, and I was down for everything, and when we threw it to Will was like, if you want prime Matt, let's do 1998, like Heart of the Attitude Era. And that way you get like A+ top notch Matt Ritter content. And I was like, Fully Loaded 98. I know it's on that. Okay, let's go with Fully Loaded 98. So,
I was gonna say, to be fair, literally everything I sent you except for one thing was just something that had a female wrestler naked on the show.
that's true. That is true.
Every single episode. So you would have got Prime me regardless.
That's true.
But I guess it doesn't get more Prime than this. This is the thing.
Let's. For those of you who don't remember this, we will get there and everything. But all I'm going to say is that VHS got watched quite a bit by Teenage Justin. We'll get there. And there was a lot of times of being like, crap, I'm up, fast forward or stop the tape. She didn't even know what's on this. Because again, WCW guy, she was not a fan of what was on the other channel. So I didn't let her know I had that VHS. Thanks, Dad.
Now, do you know what was going on in WCW around the time that this was happening, that they put this show on?
July 98.
July 98?
Because I just covered it. I know exactly what we were in between.
This was Great American Bash 98. That's Sting and Giant fighting for the tag titles. I'm probably jumping all around it, but what is it?
We're actually between Bash at the Beach and Road Wild. So we were between Hulk Hogan and Rodman versus DDP and Karl Malone, and Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan versus Jay Leno and DDP. So that's what's going on the other channel.
Jay Leno, handprints. I'm going to take the handprints. Yeah.
Tag team main event summer, though. Jesus
it
Christ.
was. Yeah. It was.
Lots of tag teams.
Which to me is always the weirdest thing. You have an actual, this is getting off subject, but a trained athlete like Karl Malone lose, but the comedian Jay Leno win. Like, yeah, okay. Again, why they went out of business? There's lots of reasons, people. But fuck you, fuck you, Terry.
Fuck Terry.
Yeah. So we start off with Fully Loaded 98, and it starts off, and it's Jerry the King Lawler with the cameraman going to find Sable. We haven't talked a lot about Sable on this podcast, even though we've ventured to, we still do WCW content, but we do other stuff now too. I don't know if it's because Will and I are scared that Brock Lesnar might stumble upon this, find us, and kill us, but it starts off with Jerry the King Lawler going into Sable's locker room, and there's a bikini contest, and it's without a doubt probably the most famed bikini contest in all of WWF history. And what can we say about 1998 Jerry the King Lawler, Will?
Jerry the King Lawler in 1998 would make it about 90 seconds in wrestling in 2024 before he got canceled.
You gave him about 80 seconds longer than I would say.
I just don't think Jerry, his issue was Jerry was made for the Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
His commentary style, he was brash. The way he talked, he was that dirty old perverted old man. Puppies and kitties, all of that. Jerry Lawler was made for the Attitude Era.
Yeah. So Matt, we get of course, I'll give you a sneak peek, and she goes behind like a little, curtain, but all of a sudden, boom, there's magically backlighting, so you get the outline of Sable's profile.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you not know, because I thought this was a well-known fact, that every changing has a backlight built in?
Yeah.
Every single one. It comes standard.
I mean, I know when I go to Target and I'm trying on jeans, that backlight kicks on and
full dad hat figure.
Yeah.
I just take my pants off in the aisle to assert dominance, and I just try the pants on right there in the aisle of the store.
I am the Will Gray. Yeah.
So that's how I do things.
Yeah. It's not to showboat. It's just to show dominance. Just to establish that, look, who's the alpha here?
So we over on my show, we draw a very close line to what is and is not appropriate. And Jerry the King Lawler is the perfect example in 1998 of why we walk a very thin line of what we joke around with and how we handle women's wrestling and women in general, because women are absolutely beautiful. We are going to talk about some very beautiful women tonight who are also very talented in other facets, specifically Jacqueline. He didn't shut the fuck up the entire show about Sable and her outfit and her bikini. I don't think he really did commentary for a single match the entire night.
I always say Jerry the King Lawler is Daffy Duck. Like that's Jerry the King Lawler in this time frame, and everything is like just fuck the wrestling, just get me to the women's stuff. That's all I care about. Like
this is my Attitude Era knock part 1. Okay. Jerry Lawler, I'm gonna piggyback off of Matt. Like, he wasn't super great. Like, and it's not just the fact that he sits there and does that with each match. And I'm a Lawler guy. Memphis gets over everywhere. I will scream till I'm blue in the face. The pile driver is the best finish that was ever used. Jerry Lawler revolutionized entertainment and wrestling together. There's lots of great things he did. His commentary skills, 38-year-old Will going back and watching what I watched at 13, and I'm going, this is just a lot of dick and fart jokes. And 38-year-old Will appreciates dick and fart jokes just as much as 13-year-old Will does. But I'm like, there's no substance to what he's saying, because it's literally the Daffy Duck sounds followed by dick and fart jokes for 3 hours every Monday night, and then on pay-per-views. So I guess like grown-up Will like sees through the fog. Like I'm gonna tell you, like match for match, I see things where I'm just like, this is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
I'm very scared that this version of Will post Fully Loaded 1998 is going to see through the fog and not come on my show anymore.
It makes you wonder though, Matt, how the hell did JR during this time period not just punch Jerry Lawler square in the face?
JR, much like Will Gray, is friends with a bunch of fucking perverts. I feel like he is just accustomed to this at this point. You look at Vince, who is, writing, producing, and setting all of this stuff up. Yep. You look at Jerry, who he's out there with every week. Like, this is just, JR is literally Will Gray sitting down on a show with me and Kyle from the Apron Bump, trying to talk about the wrestling as we're talking about penis sizes and pubic hair and all sorts of crazy shit. Like that's what it is.
I can agree with that. If you go watch Pretty Kyle, no free shout outs on the Apron Bump. He does a lot of one-on-one shows where it's like you and him, and you'll watch a pay-per-view from a different period in wrestling. And he's the only person besides Matt that's made me blush on air. And I will willingly admit that right now. And I'm vulgar as fuck, guys. Like, him and Pretty Kyle are the only ones that have made me go, oh.
Funny. Well, I mean, besides Jerry Lawler, we'll get more to Jerry Lawler and everything. We start off this pay-per-view with probably the most Attitude Era base character ever, and that's a fucking porn star, and that's Val Venus. We have not talked about Val Venus a lot on this show.
Thank God, because 2024 Val Venus sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That's one of those. I don't want that done. That's not one of those SEO algorithms I want to fall into, because they hear us say his name a bunch.
It's weird too, right? Because he is this character. He is basically a character that's created for me and what I do. We are the #1 wrestling podcast on places where you can find people having sex on the internet. He is a wrestling porn star. There's nothing more smacking at Raw than Val Venus. However, everything that he became post this, the conservative outlooks, and he falls into some of Will's favorite pastimes too. He sells things and stuff like that, but his takes, his comments, his whole philosophy of life is just abhorrent to me, and Rex. I'm like, how is this guy also this guy? And it's like, I guess fucking Right to Censor Val Venus was more true who he was than the guy that I got high at 18 on spring break in Florida and did the dance to, mocking with the towel. Like, not that person at all.
This is a different multiverse variant of the 1998.
When we get to the main event and we start talking about Mayor Kane, is there any way we can just edit everything that Matt just said about Val Venus to my spot when we get to Kane at the end of the episode? Because it's going to sound really fucking similar as a Knox County resident.
Yeah. What's really weird, though, about the Val Venus character is I've totally forgot about this. That, like, when he came in, he was freaking undefeated, and they were mentioning that during the commentary of, like how undefeated and unstoppable he was. But it's amazing that, like, I forgot too so early on with him is when the Kai and Tai and Yamaguchi-san stuff was happening. I thought he was already there for a while. I was just like, dang, they're talking about like he's still relatively new, but he's unstoppable and undefeated, but yet choppy PP's right around the corner here, people.
Oh, it's not far at all. So some notes I have on this. Southern Justice is just the Godwins repackaged, which I recognize Midian, but I did not recognize his tag team partner. I was like, oh, that's Midian. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, shit, that is the Godwins. Cool. Jim Ross on commentary lets us know that Double J is not Garth Brooks, which I only wrote down for Will because Will is a huge fan of Garth Brooks. He loves Garth Brooks.
Same. I love Garth Brooks.
He's a serial killer. Matt set me up for that. Garth Brooks is a serial killer.
But apparently Double J isn't. He just fucks other people's wives.
That is also
Kai and Tai gets kicked out while Yamaguchi-san talks about his dick size and his wife with Jerry Lawler.
Yes.
This is mostly just basically Yamaguchi-san has a tiny penis.
Yeah, that's the whole commentary under this entire match and everything.
This is also thinking about where Jeff Jarrett's coming from in '98 in the Rumble. He was the NWA North American champion feuding with Owen Hart as his like tryout for WWF.
Yeah.
And then he goes into this, and then less than a year later, he's back in WCW because he had Flair syndrome. Like, he couldn't get over in WWF, so he went back to WCW where he could, and then he joined the NWO.
Mm-hmm. But in between there, we get the great tag team with him and Owen and everything.
That's true. When they feuded to the tag team, that was a pretty good little push.
Yeah. Like,
I have no qualms about the fact that I have not in any era been a Jeff Jarrett fan. Jeff Jarrett does not do it for me. My Baby Tonight, Jeff Jarrett, not a fan. Four Horsemen, Jeff Jarrett, fucking hated that whole run. It was terrible. Don't piss me off, Jeff Jarrett.
That's my favorite.
Shooting with China, yeah, a little bit. You got me there. I'll give you that.
And NWO. I love NWO Jarrett.
A little bit. TNA Jarrett, not for me either. So, like, there's a very small window, and it's not here, but it's somewhere just north of here, where I'm like, Jeff Jarrett's okay, but that's about it.
You know where I bet you would like Jeff Jarrett?
In the NWA, where I don't have to watch him?
In Memphis. In Memphis, Matt. Memphis gets over everywhere.
I love Jeff Jarrett so much because of how much people hate him. Like, I do it out of spite at this point. Like, I know when he debuted in AEW, I was just like, I was trolling everybody. Like, you're future world champion, motherfuckers. Like, he's gonna win that belt.
He has a belt. He's the Texas Deathmatch champion now. Or what's it called? No, it's not the Texas. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Deathmatch champion.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Listen, there was one Texas Chainsaw. I was going to say there was one Texas Massacre in wrestling, and it happened on Monday. That was it. All right.
Yeah,
dude, that was awesome.
But we can't leave out too with Jeff Jarrett. And I always get them mixed up when I'm talking about what was the name where, but freaking Tennessee Lee, a.k.a. Colonel Robert Parker.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, he was 1998. He was in WWF. Like, I was trying to like think because my brain immediately, of course, goes WCW. I'm like, okay, well, 96. He was in WCW.
feuding with Sherry in '96 because again,
Sherry.
it was around World War III.
Yeah.
Sherry and him had that little. If he loses, he was. I just did it with pretty Kyle Apron Bump. He was managing the Quebecers, the Canadians, French Canadians, whatever, PCO and his tag team partner. And he lost the match. And because he lost the match, Sherry got 3 minutes with him. And it was the most exciting thing to Dusty Rhodes on the pay-per-view in 1996 was that portion of the match. And not long after his feud with Sherry, he's fucking gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing between then and now.
Because I always think his last appearance, I don't know if this is true or not, it might be more right after it is, right after he cost Harlem Heat the tag titles to the Outsiders. Like, I think that's like one of his last appearances in WCW. But I was like, he walked out and I'm just like, oh yeah, your name was Tennessee Lee. I'm just used to calling you Colonel Robert Parker. So.
Do you prefer Tennessee Lee, Will?
No.
No?
No. When we did our WCW managers, I'm pretty sure BC Hunter was on that episode, right? You know BC Hunter, Matt. Like, our podcast circles overlap so much. When we did that episode, like, I gave Colonel Robert Parker, like, his roses. I was like, he had a great run. Me and BC talked about everything he did before WCW and everything. Mm-hmm. This was not the Colonel Robert Parker I remember. This is like... I'm not going to say it like this, and you guys take it the wrong way. This is like Paul Ellering with Karrion Kross and those guys, and I love the
AOP.
AOP. Yeah, like I think they're great, but to me, it's like he just didn't do it for me. It's Colonel Robert Parker in the WWE Identity Crisis doing WWE watered down versions of Colonel Robert Parker.
It's weird because like it's just not a gimmick like that. You're like, yeah, Vince wants that on his product. Like it's such because that's Southern wrestling and he hates that. So I'm like, why is he here? Like why? Like I don't know. But yes, he is there. But Val Venus gets the win here in our first match, and then we get Val Venus being Val Venus talking about his penis size compared to Yamaguchi-san's penis size and sleeping with his wife and
little dick energy all around in this match.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit. But I know we're excited to go on to the second match because we get to talk about, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, no one can ever argue this with me, the greatest European champion ever. Ever. They could bring that belt back and, like, you could even have, like, Seth Rollins win it, and I'm still going to be like, no, the best European champion ever, D'Lo Brown. Like, I love that man.
The real deal.
Yeah.
You want to tee off on this one? Oh, sorry, Matt. Or DadHat.
No, you're totally cool. But yeah, y'all tee off on that.
Matt, you can go first on this one.
I forgot that Godfather, in the form of the Godfather, like the Godfather I remember with the hose and all of that, and the train and all that, was in the nation. I thought that was something that manifested after. So when they said Godfather of the Nation, I was like, oh shit. But this is the D'Lo Brown I remember growing up. The chest protector for his pectoral muscle, which is, slowly healing.
Yeah.
Vince and I, very early on in our partnership, I had said D'Lo Brown was severely underrated and could have been a world champion, and Vince said no, and then I called him a racist, which was fun. And I still give Vince shit about that every now and then. I'm like, you don't like him because he's black, Vince. That's what it is. And that's not true. That's not a real thing. Vince is not. But
I'm going to start bringing that back up every Saturday I can.
Anytime
Vince says something negative,
he blushes so hard. Yeah.
Anytime I'm going to bring it up now.
But the fact that D'Lo wins the European title and then refuses to put the belts on the line.
Yeah.
Like, just heel D'Lo in this era, fan-fucking-tastic.
Being from a different European country or town every week, from Helsinki, from like, I love it.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah. But D'Lo, the Godfather thing, like, because it's that weird, they're like the Godfather of the Nation, Kama, Mustafa, and I'm like, He's Kama and he's the Godfather. Like I don't remember this. Again, it's like a fever dream, like Tennessee Lee, but it's D'Lo defeating X-Pac here with China and everything. And this is, let's see, that we're in. What month was this?
July of '98.
July. So we're April, May, June, July. We're 4 months after he made the jump in. Like we're still fresh with this new version of DX, with the Outlaws, with X-Pac and everything. But they put on this. To me, this was one of the better matches on the show. These two were going.
I have become a very big fan of X-Pac, mostly from watching the stuff that we watch in WCW and seeing him as Six and stuff like that. But over these last couple of years of doing that, and then also going back and watching stuff, his in-ring work, his character, that fucking theme song, like the DX song is great, but X-Pac's DX theme song is one of my favorite Attitude Era theme songs. It is.
Which I think is funny because he does not like it.
Really?
I saw an interview with him, and he's just like, he's like, he doesn't hate it, but he's just like, it's not my favorite. Did
he prefer Uncle Cracker with X Factor?
He said he really likes that one. But apparently, though, he said that was before Uncle Cracker. It was supposed to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers that sang it.
Okay.
Like that's who they originally went to, and I was just like, I need to. Still working. What did I say to make my phone start talking to me? But I was just like, I like the X Factor song. Uncle Cracker. It's so early Uncle Cracker. But well, for you here, like, what do you think? D'Lo and X-Pac, mid card title. A lot of people. There's. I feel like a lot of people look at that European title maybe with rose-colored glasses. Like, there's so many people that was like, oh, the hardcore title. Oh, the hardcore title. And I feel like there's just the same kind of feeling for the European title with a lot of fans from this generation.
That's because the European title, D'Lo and British Bulldog and Owen are three people that come to mind that were the only three people that really made that belt feel like something.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, it was the third tier, the heavyweight title, then the IC title. Oh, yeah, we also have the European title, to a point that it was a gimmick. When Shane had retired it, Mideon found it in his gym bag and was like, yo, I'm the European champion now. Like, it's almost like 24-7 vibes with it. When D'Lo had it, though, he made it feel like it meant something. It was important. It was a title. Him and X-Pac collectively make up maybe the most redeemed factor about this mid-card is because it's like two roses in a field of crap. Because I think D'Lo Brown 100% could be a world champion, and X-Pac, no matter anybody, will never change my mind on this. He was the needle mover during the Attitude Era. He goes to WCW, they beat WWF. He goes back to WWF, they start beating WCW again. He's not directly affecting it, but for some fucking reason, Sean Waltman moved the fucking needle.
Like Riho. You've heard the theory about Riho. Like, every time Riho's on TV, even though it's just Riho.
875,000 fucking viewers. Yeah. Almost
X-Pac
1 million views.
1998 Riho.
100%. I don't understand it or why it's the X-Pac factor. And Rio
they're
has
about the same size.
thing. Yeah.
Maybe they're about the same size.
But yeah, that's it. Like, these two guys were great workers all the way back to 1, 2, 3 Kid and Razor Ramon, man. Like, X-Pac was always a good worker. One of the best workers of his size to come through that generation.
I love D'Lo Brown. I love the lowdown. I love second
best frog splash in the business.
Second best frog splash in the. I will give you that. But love the lowdown. It's a pop butt power bomb, but the fact him falling with it, and it's just so fluid with it and everything. And I love the running power bomb, and we can't forget the how can you not forget the head shake? As you're walking out, just the charisma. I used to walk through my house doing it all the time.
He gives great head because my head doesn't move like that, and I satisfy my wife as often as possible. I still can't do it, so I know D'Lo gives great head.
Macaroni in a pot.
We also have China here. I'll be remiss if I didn't say, like, anytime I go back and watch China, it's just yeah. Damn, I wish she would get her roses more. Like,
Greatest female wrestler to ever live.
Like,
and I will die on that hill.
And this is pre, like, when she had the facial surgery to make herself seem more feminine. She still had the very square jaw here. Again, in the manager role, one of my favorite things, and this is a Will thing about this, is that we had Godfather and we had the Outlaws come out, and everyone got sent to the back, and they made it very clear that China is the only one with a license that is allowed to be ringside, which is something that we don't really do or talk about anymore. The managers' licenses, things like that. It was a very big point that was made that she gets to stay because she's the only one licensed to be ringside. Everyone else had to leave. So I appreciated that. And I mean, as much as we talk about how great X-Pac was and the needle mover and all of that, which he was, China was so big for DX, like so big for DX. This female enforcer that, because we've seen women even in 2024 who will get in between men because men won't hit a woman, right? But men were afraid to hit China.
I mean, first woman in Royal Rumble, first woman to hold a predominantly male title. I mean, she has every reason to be in the Hall of Fame by herself.
First woman to wrestle in a New Japan Pro Wrestling ring. Like, that in its own regard, from 1973 when Inoki founded New Japan until 2004, maybe, when she showed up in New Japan, like, well over 30 years of history before they had a woman in a wrestling ring, and she was the one that Antonio Inoki was like, you know what? She's got it.
Yeah.
Not just a women's match. He went straight to having a woman in a ring wrestling men in New Japan, and that was fucking unheard of.
Yeah.
And in a way, very ahead of her time, because she is also one of the first female wrestlers to cross over from wrestling into porn, which is something that is very predominant in 2024 with OnlyFans. We've seen, Sunny, as well as, I mean, Sable did the Playboy stuff, which is pictorials and things like that, but like the videos and things like that, which I know One Night in China wasn't really supposed to be what it was, but it led to that. And then, like I said, you've seen Mandy Rose, you've seen all of these women cross over into doing OnlyFans and different things. Even like mainstream stars like Maitland Ward, who was on Boy Meets World, is now like a mainstream porn star. Like, China was one of the first people to do that too. I
know when I first heard that, I was like, "Excuse me, what?"
I've seen them all.
Rachel,
Rachel.
I have that Playboy downstairs right now, actually, the China one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's like, how long does it take me to get to Will's house right now?
Hold on. You guys talk. I'll be listening. I'll be right back. I gotta check something.
I mean, to me, like, looking at the card, there's only like maybe 2 other matches on here that I'm like, I would recommend going back and watching them. One of them is a really good match, and then it has a shitty finish, and we'll get there. But coming up next, as we wait on Matt, we get, I don't know, it might be one of the only times that I can think of that we get the APA on opposite sides of the ring, and this was well before they were the APA. You get Farouk, freshly out of the Nation of Domination, and Too Cold Scorpio versus, and I forgot this, Justin Bradshaw and Terry Funk. Now, I remember this, you get a little pre-tape, a little backstage right before where Terry Funk's like, if I'm going to take some time away and this might be my last match for a while with the WWF, and Bradshaw's pissed off from the get-go. So, I mean, it's like, cue up the heel turn before you even get to the ring, folks. But, like, Farouk on one side, Bradshaw on the other. I mean, I love the APA. Because they leaned into. I love them when they were the Acolytes. I loved them when we get later on and the APA becomes like a comedy bit with the door, like knock on the door, go through the door, like be in the security, like cool, you pay us or you bring us beer, cool, yeah, we'll walk you back, and we won't let anybody get to the ring. Like they're great, but yeah, this is the only time I can think of off the top of my head where they are on the opposite side of each other.
Not just that, but you have one member of APA on either side of the ring, and then a Funk on either side of the ring. Terry on one and Flash on the other.
I didn't think about it that way, but yes, that's very true. It's very, very true. I just forget that about Scorpio being. Scorpio is one of those where it's just like he's just there. He was never one where I necessarily paid that much attention to, and wherever he was. But I'm like, he was in ECW, he's here. Like it's like, oh yeah, you did wrestle, you were there and everything. I just never paid much attention to Scorpio.
So this was one of like the 67 times Terry Funk was retiring or taking time off from wrestling, because that's the whole story here. Is Terry's like, after this match, I'm taking some time off, and Bradishaw's like, what the fuck? What do you mean you're taking? You didn't tell me that. We're a tag team. Where do you think you're going? You're supposed to. Terry was kind of like his mentor, teaching him the ropes and things like that. And he's like, you can't just leave. He's like, no, I'm leaving. Time to retire and hang it up and spend some time with the wife and kids. And because
this was post Chainsaw Charlie, like this is just, you're not Chainsaw Charlie, you are Terry Funk. Like you're wearing a Terry Funk shirt. Like
Funk you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. After the match, Bradshaw, because they lost, beats down Terry Funk. Scorpio comes back. He gets lariated and fucking he sells so well. Like a man his size taking a lariat and flipping like that. I'm always impressed. Like Rikishi's another guy for his size to take clotheslines the way he did and like flip in the air. It just blows my mind. Farouk comes back. Bradshaw hits him with a chair. And 1998, summer of 98. We're roughly about a year away from APA-ish, I want to say. The ministry was sometime in 99. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So we're not far from them coming together.
Well, what you got to say about this?
This is where I'll start my shit show. Because pretty much the next three matches, I have the same thing to say.
Yeah, we'll go through these very fast.
This match, the Henry match, and the Disciples of Apocalypse match, all three of these matches represent one of the biggest things that people shit on AEW for all the time, is that there's no stories being told because they're all short. Long-term storytelling has to be a thing in wrestling or it's shit. WWE is cleaning house right now, doing these stupid little 2, 3, 4, 5 week builds in between pay-per-views with these mid-card guys, and the wrestling world ate it up. But now in 2024, Tony Khan is doing the exact same fucking thing with AEW, and people are like, this is trash. And I'm like, it's the same shit that was happening 30 years ago.
Like, to be fair, I watched this and I said it was trash, and I feel like you're saying it was also trash. So maybe we're right in 2024 and we were wrong in 1998 because we didn't know any better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of this feels like short, quick payoff wrestling. You know what I mean? They didn't know what to do with some of these guys.
It's so filler.
And I feel like the same stuff people bitch about happening now in wrestling is the shit we were praising for how great the mid-card was in the Attitude Era. And I'm like, it was good, but like not great. It was the back half of this card saved this entire pay-per-view. The last 4 matches, including the bikini contest, like saved this pay-per-view.
So you got to remember when they talk about the mid-card, they look back on the mid-card, right? When you look back on the mid-card, you're looking back, like you said, with rose-colored glasses, but also you look back at like Al Snow and Head. You look at Big Boss Man and the stuff that he did. You look at Hardcore Holly, who for a very short period there was almost on the trajectory to become heavyweight champion until, Brock fucked him up.
Give me the fucking belt!
You look at your Ken Shamrocks, I mean, right now, the mid-card here, we talked about D'Lo and stuff, and that's lower mid-card. The Rock and Triple H are fighting for the Intercontinental title. Like that's your mid card right now is The Rock and Triple H, your mid card championship feud. So like, yes and no. I'd say that this era had more filler wrestlers that they stuck in random matches in the middle of the card to fill it out. Then it wasn't a great mid card. There is and will be some big mid card players, and that's why we look back on it. And we're like, oh, fucking, we didn't talk about it, but Edge was just hanging out.
Oh, that's right.
In the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
He was just standing there, and they're like, because this was just like the Edge shows up randomly and like he thinks he's fucking Sting, just hanging out in the crowd, all fucking pouty and mysterious. So like, yeah, you do have some great mid card shit. Not all of the mid card is fantastic, but there is some, and I think it's a little more spread. It is and it isn't more spread out because when you think about the Attitude Era, it really is only 2 to 3 years, right? Like mid 2000s to somewhere in 1997, because by 2001 we're starting to get into that in between Attitude Era and fucking
aggression
shit.
Yeah.
So like 3 to 4 years, we'll say. It's a very short period, and that good mid card shit is spread out through that 4-year period. It's not like a solid, consistent all the way through.
Well, you look at 98 from like January through now, maybe even January through SummerSlam. After that, you stop, like this is kind of like the ending. Will mentioned like cleaning house. You stop seeing these certain wrestlers like the Disciples of Apocalypse. You know, we don't see LOD 2000 for much longer and everything. You see, it's like, okay, cool. We have now, this is our key group right now. This is who we're going with. All of the rest of you, fuck off. Like, they're gone as of within the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's like you're the last remaining little bit of the new generation that, you know what, you don't hang now with the new cool kids, so get off my TV.
No, you're right.
Moving up next, we go to Meaty Men Slapping Meat. I mean, you hear these names, you're like, damn, that's got to be a good match. And, whew, man, it was not pleasant to watch. World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry, defeating Vader. And as much as I love Vader, man, I hate watching Vader in WWF.
Why?
It's probably the best way. I don't think Vince knew what to do with him.
Yeah, I can see that. Well,
right.
The reason I ask is because I've always felt like Vader deserved to be. He was always kind of that top heel that they put into feuds to lose, which WWE does a lot of. Is they have a really big guy and they stick him in there and he loses a lot. And I'm like, I don't know how this guy never won a world championship in WWF back then because it's fucking Vader. We were talking about Rachel from Boy Meets World. Vader was on Boy Meets World. He was Frankie's dad. Like, that's what I think of when I think of Vader. And I'm like, how is this guy not the fucking champion? But he's here to carry Mark Henry, who's very fucking green.
Yeah.
And Vader's not in the best shape, and this is not the best. I don't think we're very far off from like Vader and Yokozuna getting sent to weight loss camp and then running away from weight loss camp because they didn't want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't move.
I forgot that was the thing. I remember Yoko. I forgot about Vader being part
he was
of
there
that.
too.
I mean, but Vader had such a good, like, you got him beating up freaking Gorilla Monsoon. A fucking legend. Like beyond the word legend for this company. And then it's just like, and you know what? Here you go. Like, it's tailspin from immediately after that. Will, very green Mark Henry, as Matt said, versus, Vader getting towards the end of the run here. We know how much we love Vader. We've done episodes on Vader.
Mark Henry at this point and Vader at this point should have never happened. This is one of those dream matches where you say their names together, but it should have been Mark Henry like 6 years from now.
Hall of Pain, Mark
Hall of Pain, Mark Henry
versus Prime Vader.
Exactly. This is one of those. This would have been like if Cactus Jack wrestled Bruiser Brody. Like if we hadn't lost Brody, like he would have been well past his prime when Cactus Jack really popped off. It wouldn't have been the same. That's almost how I feel about Vader and Mark Henry. Seeing this now, I'm like, ugh. This one again. Looking at it, you're like, fuck. I bet this is awesome. This is gonna be the best 5 minutes I've ever seen in my life. And then you're like, wow, these guys are gassed before their entrances are done.
This is Mark Henry, where all he knows how to do is I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna pose. Like that's like there's nothing other than that. Mark Henry. Like you don't look at this Mark Henry and go Hall of Famer right there, which he eventually gets to that point. But yeah, this was hard to watch. Like
I didn't take any notes. I just wrote Vader loses to Mark Henry, and that was it.
Yeah,
there was nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
No,
well, I mean that's how I feel about the next match too.
Whoa! Hold your dad hat, all right? Because before we get to the next match, we need to talk about the main story that doesn't involve titties, which is the fact that Taker is not here tonight.
Oh, that's right.
Kevin Kelly and Tom Pritchard are backstage reporting on it. We get a Russo appearance, just running around with the headset backstage,
and a very crude internet, like it because it's still so fresh and new. Cue the Outcasts right now. Like,
but then music plays. Here comes Paul Bearer with Kane and Mankind talking about how Austin's going to be by himself tonight, how it's Austin's fault that Taker's not going to show up. And for whatever reason, the New Age Outlaws come down to the ring, and Billy Gunn starts beating the shit out of Kane and no-selling Kane in 1998. And it drove me fucking nuts. Because I'm watching Kane try to punch Billy, and Billy's just like, nope, and he just keeps pounding on Kane. I'm like, listen, Billy, who the fuck do you think you are right now?
Yeah.
That's 1998 Kane, all right?
Yeah. That is like, he is damn near indestructible. Like, nothing hurts him. He is Michael Myers.
Yeah. And Billy Gunn's just like, nope, and just keeps punching him. Kane's trying to throw him punches. He's like, not doing it. I'm going to beat the shit out of it. I'm like, why, Billy? Why?
And it's so funny, too. Like, he's like full blood, I'm going to whip your ass.
Yep.
Billy, what line of substance did you do before you walked outside?
all of them.
Yeah.
As someone who is an aficionado of substances, you don't attack a man that's over 7 foot tall when you're Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is a big SOB. Yeah. I am not a small man, and Billy Gunn makes me look small. Mm-hmm. Him standing next to Kane no. That's like me fighting Brock Lesnar. There's not very few people on this planet that I'm just going to be like, not today. Like it's Brock Lesnar is one of those few where I'm just going to be like, you know what? That's not worth it.
We know that you love your Mick Foley. We know that's your dude of all time. I forget how much in WWF Mick Foley and the damn Outlaws interacted.
Oh yeah.
Like
I love him. He's getting ready. He wins the title in 99. Yeah. So we're 6 months away from him winning his first title. He was that guy. He didn't give a shit. He would do whatever Vince said. He was the dude who was tag team partners and champions as Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie while feuding as Mankind and Terry Funk. He would do whatever Vince McMahon asked him to do.
Yeah.
Have you guys done that for Wreckage yet? Because I know originally WCW and you guys have branched out, but the idea of covering Mick Foley's title win, which was pre-recorded, and Tony dropping that line and all of the people changing the channel on WCW, and that being one of those things that
I don't know if we've ever actually
really
covered.
We covered that episode of Nitro because I remember talking about it.
But not the episode of Raw and what.
But not covering that episode of Raw, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be really
That's
interesting.
A good idea.
That's literally the turn of the tide. Like, that happened, and 83 weeks was fucking over.
Yeah.
Well, you get to pick a subject for the next episode. So you're like, I might write this one down. You might.
I think I want to do, actually, now that you say that, that's actually a good idea. Doing the Nitro and the Raw that happened at the same night Foley won his title.
Okay.
I only have good ideas.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. I've been working with you for the better part of 3 years. I know.
But yeah, like I was like, damn. It was just another time where I was just like, okay, well, I mean, the Outlaws and Cactus at Mania with the dumpster match. Here again, like it's you think Mick Foley, you don't go, oh yeah, the Outlaws. They big feud than it really was, especially in '98. But yeah, and Paul Bearer being Paul Bearer. I love Paul Bearer in this time being with Kane. Like I think I almost like Paul Bearer with Kane more than I like Paul Bearer with The Undertaker.
No.
But here's my thing. This is my hot take. This is my hot take for the episode here. The Undertaker isn't even in my top 10.
Oh! Listen. The Undertaker is my top 10.
I love The Undertaker. I love the storylines and everything. I should just pull that.
Will gave this to me. This sits right next to my mic. This is from Will and Allison. 2 weeks Listen, I will sit here. We can do an entire episode, and I will fight and argue with you as to why I believe not only is he the top 10, he is number 1. He is the greatest person to lace up a pair of boots and walk into a professional wrestling ring all round.
I don't hate The Undertaker. He's just, for me, not like, if I'm like, man, I really want to go back and watch something. I don't have like, I'm not like Undertaker. I want an Undertaker match. Like, storyline wise, yes, I love it. I love the stories of Undertaker, not necessarily like individual matches of his. There's one or two, but I don't know. Okay, he might be okay. Maybe I'm gonna say maybe not top 5. He might be in the top 10, but he's not in my top 5.
He's in my top 6, because my 5 and 6 always change. It's Taker and Macho Man coming out of the Mount Rushmore position. Yeah. Those are the two that, yeah.
Number 1.
This is how you clutch that. It's just like
how dare you?
The cuddles.
Yeah. 5 is a good solid number.
Don't listen to him.
Sean Brett, Bruno, Mick, Taker. I'll take that.
Yeah. And mine's always going to be Sting. That's always going to be my number 1.
Sorry.
So, anyway, off on another tangent here. But yeah, so we get Kane and Paul and everything. I don't know. I was such a big fan of the storyline of Kane and the brother coming in, and that Undertaker killed the parents and the funeral home. And all that. Like, again, that's why I say, like, I love the Undertaker for the stories. Like, I love that aspect. I love the Ministry of Darkness storyline and the build up to the greater power. Fuck, the reveal of the greatest power, but that whole like burning Vince's daughter's teddy bear and that kind of, like, I love that part of the Undertaker, the storyline part.
My hot take is Christopher Daniels wouldn't have been any better. It would have probably been far less impactful if they had
I
gone
don't even
that
know if I
route.
would have put. I mean, I always forget that was another option, but I'm just like, I don't know who I would put in that, but I mean, it makes sense it being Vince, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's one of those like, okay, Vince, I'm just gonna throw myself in it.
I feel like he was just like, that was Bischoff ripoff when Bischoff was like, I'm really running the NWO.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, very much so. Do we have anything we need to talk about with the Disciples of Apocalypse versus LOD 2000?
There's a story here, right? Paul Ellering's out there.
And his goggles.
I may be remembering this wrong, but didn't LOD get rid of Paul for Sonny, and that's why Paul's pissed off, and then he went and got the Harris brothers said, hey, come on, twins, let's go and beat up the LOD. And then they did Twin Magic. We had Twin Magic. Everybody loves Twin Magic.
Only in the adult films.
I lost you, Will. No mic, or I can't hear you.
Because I was muted, because I was eating candy. I don't like LOD 2000 at all.
No.
Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, may be the greatest tag team to ever do it. That's one of those questionable things where I change around the Dudleys and the Steiners and LOD. This is another one like Vader, where they weren't the same, Legion of Doom. They weren't the same Road Warriors they were.
Mm-mm.
Like, they just weren't. There was no getting that feel back in 1998 for who they were.
Which is weird too, like the cool down period, because like when you watch them at the Royal Rumble that year, when they return with Sonny, the place loses their fucking mind.
Yeah. This is still better than when they added Draws and when they tried to add Heidenreich. So
1000%, but that's my point. This is like you stop knowing what the Legion of Doom is at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I would have been okay with, because we haven't talked about Draws really. I think I would have been okay more with the Draws thing, like addition to it, if they had added someone else and it was a passing of the torch moment, not just adding a third member. If it was like, we're riding to the sunset, we're passing on that, Road Warrior title to you. But even I would say Draws isn't the right person. Like, it would need to be someone that is like fits in. I mean, at the end of the day, they're two guys that love to fight. It's almost like, hey, if you want to pass them on, maybe not the whole gear with the spikes and everything like that, but like two people that love to fight and ride motorcycles. Okay, Farouk and Bradshaw, here you go. Like, that's the.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, like that's who that would be. Maybe not the face paint, the gimmick, and everything like that, but like that's your closest thing. I love the next match. I hate the fucking ending, but I love the next match.
I am a story guy. I am not a match guy.
Yeah.
So we are not going to skip over Vince McMahon coming out and talking to the fans, blaming Austin.
Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at it on Wikipedia right now. So,
and telling us that due to the fact that the fine print says card is subject to change, should Undertaker not show up, a suitable replacement will be made.
No, he's such a suitable replacement.
DadHat, who was the suitable replacement that Vince had in case Undertaker? Would you guys consider this person to be suitable if you had paid money and Undertaker to replace the Undertaker in any match ever? Period.
Why wouldn't you want to see the Brooklyn Brawler? Why not?
Duke the Dumpster.
Duke the Dumpster.
If you were going to pull a jobber out, literally have him wrestle a trash man, like, that would have been awesome.
The funny thing about this, though, like, the night that I watched this, literally that day, I had to have the conversation with my 5-year-old about what card subject to change means. Because he was talking about, like, I've told him, like, you're still just a little young for me to take you to a wrestling show and everything. Because I don't think he would sit through even a house show. He's going on. I don't think it would. I know him. It just wouldn't hold his attention yet. But he's like, when you take me to a wrestling show, you got to make sure that Cody's there. He's just got to be there. He's got to be there. And I was just like, oh, we'll do our best. But I was like, there's this thing in wrestling called card subject to change, and having to explain this to a 5-year-old who has no idea what I mean. And then that happened. I was laughing so hard.
I appreciate the fact that he believes that his daddy can make Cody be at the show.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. He was like, you just got to make sure that Cody's there. I'm like, I will do my best, but do my best.
Because Kate's getting ready to take Zoe to a baseball game on Saturday. And I'm like, good luck with that, because she is not making it through an entire I can barely make it through an entire fucking baseball game.
The funny thing is he'll sit through that, but like our minor league one, like the little stadium, they made it a very family friendly, like if he gets bored, like my wife and I will trade off and like we'll take them around. And there's like a full on playground built into the baseball field, or like around the baseball field. There's a splash pad built into the thing, so like he's not bored. Like, but if he gets bored, you can take him to one of those things. But yeah, baseball games are long with kids. Like, I love going to see baseball, and it's that way. But yeah, no, you can't. I mean, it's the Brooklyn Brawler. It will. I agree. I like the dumpster Drosy, but I mean, if you're gonna, at this time at least, you're going to pull out a jobber. You got to find one that's working behind the scenes. All right, come on, Brawler, dust off the Yankee shirt.
I think for kayfabe purposes, we knew it wasn't going to happen. But again, like anybody but Brooklyn Brawler, like. There are convincing jobbers that you could have pulled out.
Yeah.
Other than him. He literally made a career of losing.
At least he didn't come out with like the baseball painted on his face.
That's true.
That could have been worse.
That's true.
But okay.
NXT Underground?
Yeah, pretty much.
Perfect example. Yeah.
Owen Hart versus Ken Shamrock. And I love Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock for me is one of those people who's like, why did he not win a world title in WWE? Like, I mean, I know he was partying too much. They say he wasn't reliable, not showing up to shows, not making house shows. But like, damn, I love Ken Shamrock. But Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock in the Hart Dungeon in Calgary with Dan the Beast Severin as the special guest referee. It's like, I just love the sight of Shamrock trying to get psyched up and then just, I'm going to walk down the stairs to the basement now. This, and then I forget which pay-per-view it is in 98 where they actually have the Octagon match. The Lions
match. Yeah.
Like, I loved Owen and Ken Shamrock together. Like, but the finish to this is so stupid. Like, I'm going to hold his hand and tap him out myself. Like,
I forgot how many shitty like cinematic matches there were in wrestling in the 90s. Like we saw them in WCW with the graveyard match. And we saw this one, and watching them live as a kid, like I assumed they were live.
Same.
They were in Calgary. And then looking back on it, I'm like, we got cheated. Live TV my ass. Like there's so much of this shit that was pre-taped and they just mixed into it live. I'm like, we got cheated, guys. The Attitude Era was nothing but smoke and mirrors.
I just love how, again, we go back to Jerry Lawler and his Daffy Duck like Ken Shamrock's head goes through the top of the ceiling and everything, and he's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. But I love that he's just like that. You got JR is just like, we want to thank the Harts, all the Hart family and everything, and I'm like, motherfucker, a year and a half ago, your company is screwing Bret Hart. Like,
the whole thing is too, you hear the Hart Dungeon and you understand, and looking back on it, we've all seen the dark side and all the things, and you would think like the pride of Canadian wrestling, and it looks like every grandmother's house from the 1980s and 1990s.
Yep.
Like
little mat tarp on the ground.
Like, exactly the same.
I don't know why, because I know I've seen this before, but in my head, every time they've talked about the Hart Dungeon, I assumed there was a ring somewhere in the house, in the basement. I didn't realize that they were just wrestling in a room with a mat on the floor. I did not know that was a thing. For whatever reason, I felt like, you know what? Maybe it was fucking Ready to Rumble. Maybe like I got in my head from Ready to Rumble, the dude that they went to go see, the old
Sal
man.
Bandini.
Yeah, and how he had maybe that's why I thought. But no, I'm like, this is just a bedroom match and not a fun one. Like, this
is where Kenny Omega. Yeah.
What's Stu Hart's wife's name? Is it Martha?
No, Martha is Owen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whatever Stu Hart is like. Brett and Owen's mom just like comes down. It's like, hold on, I gotta change the laundry over to the dryer. Sorry, boys.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was the standard like Hart Foundation thing. Like Helen. That's what it was. And it wasn't, and like you said, a year ago they were screwing the hearts, and now they're doing, vignettes and, stuff with Stu down there. And to me, again, looking back on it, I'm like, you're the highest grossing wrestling company on the planet, and you couldn't make this look any better than that, even in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, some of this just did not age well.
No. Seeing this again, though, makes me want to go back and watch the Lions Den match. Because in my brain, I'm like, okay, Lions Den match is better than this. This got to be. Like,
I'm pretty sure it is. But if I remember correctly, I think they had more than one, but one of the Lions Den matches, they had it in like a separate part of the arena, and they had to like filter fans from one part of the arena to another part to go watch it. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like they had one that was like stage side.
The one I remember is the Lions Den is up on the stage where the entrances come out. So they get out from their entrances and walk straight into the cage.
Oh, see, I don't think of that one. I think of the one where it's like the amphitheater part of the arena. Like the main crowd isn't watching it. Like,
I remember both. I also think there's a ghost in my house because I keep fucking hearing shit. And I think Zoe woke up and came downstairs. I'm looking, but if she had, she'd be in here already. So it's probably a ghost.
That's cool.
Well, after that, to me, the best match on the show, bar none,
was D'Lo Brown and X-Pac. We talked about that.
What? No. This trumps that for me. But Will knows this. I'm a big Rock fan. I'm a big Hunter fan. But to me, I like the Rock and Hunter feud more than I like the Rock and Austin feud.
I don't know how we're ever going to work together again, Dad.
Sorry, man. I think it's because this is like that real life animosity. Like they just really fucking hated each other and everything. That's why I love SummerSlam '98. That ladder match, like before they start, they're just like "fuck you, motherfucker!" Like, and I'm just like they're gonna kill each other. But I love them fighting over this IC title in '98. Like that's that feud for the IC title and DX versus the Nation, two groups for the young, hungry, like fighting to be the next big main event stars. Like it's just, I don't know why it always made me such a fan of these two together. But it's also, this is Triple H trying to showcase, look, I can be violent. I can be a little more extreme, a little more hardcore. But it's a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I mean, there's one thing that I never caught until I watched it this time is at the end where it goes to a draw, because the time runs out and everything. Triple H is going for a pin. Earl Hebner has plenty of damn time that he could have got down and hit 3 count for that last fall. But he's just like, no, the time's coming out. The bell hasn't run. Hebner, get down and count.
Yeah. I was actually wrong earlier when we talked D'Lo and X-Pac. This is the match where everyone got kicked out of ringside. They mentioned China got to stay because China had her license. That was not the X-Pac match. This is also, and I know this from commentary from Daffy Duck, about a week after the famous DX Flasher incident where Triple H had the blonde in the crowd.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because Jerry's like, let's have her do it. Let's have him do it again. Like it happened last week. Let's do it again. He's all Jerry. Don't get me wrong. I was 11 years old when this came out. 98, 11, 87. Yeah, I can't do math right now. I was about 11 years old. So I was with Jerry Lawler. All I cared about was titties. Like wrestling was great and the punches and the kicks, but like I was with Jerry 100% at this point.
Yeah. I was 13.
Why you got
over 13? Yeah. Will, what about this? 2 young, as JR would say, 2 young lions fighting, clawing, scratching, trying to make a name for themselves.
If you took this match and you told me that they had a 30-minute time limit draw on a 2 out of 3 falls match, I would have assumed it was for the world title.
Yep.
And the fact that these guys did it for the IC title goes back to what I was saying earlier, and it's that double-edged sword. Back half was saved to the front half. These guys made this belt, even though the tag titles were main eventing, they made this belt feel like this could have been the main event for this pay-per-view. 100%. But they came in second place to Taker. and Austin and Mankind and Kane, who were the 4 biggest stars on the fucking planet at the time. You know what I mean?
4 months away from Rock winning his very first world title
at Survivor Series, the tournament. Yeah, Deadly Games tournament. So I feel like this is that situation where it's like, this could have been a main event in WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like the way I talked about Mark Henry and Vader, not the right time. This just wasn't the right time. You know what I mean? You got a main event, this WrestleMania main event quality match, and it's the second to last match for the IC title on a B-list pay-per-view, and you're like, wrestling in 98 is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really weird.
So, with the Roman stuff that we've had recently, and even the Cody match, and there was something else that happened recently, and I'm trying to remember what it was. But I see a lot of people like, why can't they just have a wrestling match? Why can't it be too? Why does it have to be all? WWF has always been, from the time it was at its arguably most popular in the Attitude Era, depending on how you want. Some people say Hogan. I'm in Austin. Most popular was that era, not Hogan. But it's always been these, like, you had the Nation come in, and that's how Rock got his first fall, because Mark Henry takes out Triple H, and Billy chases him off, and then the Godfather gets run off, and then D'Lo causes a distraction, so the Rock gets his first fall, and then the Rock gets hit with an X Factor and kicks out, and like all of this craziness was like why people tuned into the WWF. I talked about it. I forget. It might have been on Get Show. I don't remember, or maybe it was the Apron Bump. I think it was Apron Bump when we did that. And we were talking about 1996. I was like, I think the reason I'm not a wrestling fan, as far as like, I enjoy a good match, but like that's not what's most important to me, is because this is what I came up in, and a lot of this time period, with the exception of like when you get a Rock and a Triple H in it, but a lot of it is brawling with spots of wrestling moves interjected into it. That's what our main event is mostly. My 2 favorite wrestlers weren't really known for the plethora of wrestling moves they could do. It was for punching and kicking guys really hard and occasionally picking them up and dropping. Like Stone Cold and Taker. That's what they did, right? They punched you, they kicked you, they beat the shit out of you, and occasionally they'd pick you up and they drop you and do something. But like they weren't known for a plethora of wrestling moves. And that's what I loved about wrestling. I loved it when it looked like a fight and it was a struggle. This is gang warfare at its best. Everyone's coming in, trying to help their side. It is a fucking mess, but it was a beautiful mess. And nowadays you get something like this and everyone's like, why can't 2 guys just wrestle and have it be a fair fight? Why does there always got to be something? Because it's entertaining. Because it's sports entertainment. That is why. Because it's a
at
fucking
least false finishes that, like, oh my gosh, you thought Triple H was going to get a pin with that X Factor. Nope. But it adds to it. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. JR also said, well, I don't think it was an exact quote, but basically when X-Pac came in and did the X Factor, he was cheering for X-Pac coming in and interfering in the match. But when the Nation did it, he was damning them. And I'm like, this is not unbiased journalism, JR. You can't be like, it's bad when the Nation does it, but it's great when DX does. Yeah. That's not how commentary is supposed to work. Play-by-play, man.
JR was the missing member of DX.
Yeah.
My gosh. But I agree with what you both say. I mean, I would go back and rewatch that match again. Like, of anything on this pay-per-view, that's the one. That and the main event are the ones I would go back and rewatch.
Of anything on this pay-per-view?
Well, okay. Other than what we're about to go into.
Because I found the Daily Motion video that was uncensored from Peacock to watch this segment. I was not watching Peacock's limited version. I wanted the full experience as if I had paid for the pay-per-view live. Got to see everything.
I remember having the VHS, and it was not censored.
Mm-hmm.
So, folks, we're going into one reason why we got Matt here for this pay-per-view. To kind of quote Will from last week. The bikini contest. Jacqueline and Sable with your MC, Jerry the King Lawler, in the ring. Matt, I give it the platform to you.
Well, we've talked about D'Lo Brown and X-Pac. We've talked about The Rock and Triple H. But, I mean, this is the only match that I remember from tonight that had a tail of the tape. So, like, this was the match, right? And I've realized a couple things. One, 1990s, and Will and I talked about this a little bit when we did our zombie stuff for Getting Off. We were talking about how Jenna Jameson, who was also hanging out with Val Venus around this period of time, was like the biggest thing in the world. She was a porn star that was kind of the first one to really cross over mainstream-wise. Had no ass. Nobody in the 90s had ass. This was the no-ass 90s. Because not even Jacqueline, in her very sleek red bikini.
Bathing suit.
Bathing suit.
It's not a bikini. A bikini is a two-piece. That was one. I'll wait my turn.
This is what I used to sell at Spencer's when I worked there.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm going to talk to you about that later.
I picked Matt interest. He's like, yeah, okay.
You didn't have any dressing rooms, did you, with a backlight?
There might have. No, not in my location. No.
Oh, damn it. Anyway. Dustin Rhodes.
I forgot about this.
Older brother of Cody comes out, leads us in prayer prior to the contest. Now, mind you, before I watch all of my sexually explicit content, I like to bow my head in prayer. And
I usually wait till I'm done.
It's that jerk off guilt, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. They let us know that the bikini contest was coming very soon. The only thing coming very soon was 11-year-old me and also 21-year-old me and currently 37-year-old me. Because we had the nip slip from Jacqueline. Like, she went to adjust her bikini, full titty, just popped out. What's crazy is this whole feud started, right? Because Sable, and this is something that we see frequently in WWF. This is not a one-off where there is a man who has a female valet that he is dating who wants to express herself sexually, and he is controlling and not having it. We saw it with Mike Knox and Kelly Kelly. We saw it with Tajiri and Tori Wilson. We see it here with Sable and Mark Marrow. So what does Mark Marrow do? He goes and gets himself a brand new girlfriend, right? I got a brand new girlfriend. Yeah,
thanks,
but he doesn't care. You're welcome. He doesn't care that she's showing off. He's showing her off to fucking everybody, and he's still very worried about how much Sable is showing off, which not a good look, Mark. Not a good look. Sable has been informed by Vince McMahon specifically, the biggest pervert in the company, that her bikini choice isn't modest enough to be presented on pay-per-view. So when she takes off the Sable Bomb t-shirt and she has the crop top on underneath, Jerry's very disappointed, as I think the entire crowd was. And she has to explain to us, she's like, they didn't want to let me come out. This is what they thought was conservative, which, mind you, that crop top and a thong, conservative.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Hadn't we already, at this point, we had already had the potato sack moment, right?
I think so.
Where she's like in that like string piece, like
yeah. Because again, Mark Marrow trying to keep her covered up, and she's being like, "No, this is my body. I worked hard on this body. I want to show it off, even though I have no ass." It didn't matter in the '90s. No one cared. So then she tells us, "This is what I think of conservative," and she pulls that top off. Do we know whose handprints those were?
I have heard that it is Mark Marrow's.
Okay.
Like from different podcasts, they're talking about it.
He has very feminine hands. Because I looked at those handprints and I'm like, those are either Sable's or maybe Jackie's. They did not look like a man's hands.
To me, it was just like somebody did handprints, but then it's like they took like the paintbrush and they rounded everything off. Like it's like if you draw a hand, like you were to take a paintbrush and try to paint it.
Like the turkey when you do the hand turkey.
It's that, yeah.
Okay. When I got up earlier, when Will was talking about Playboys and stuff, and how he had the China Playboy, I thought I had the Tori and Sable Playboy. I do not. I was only able to find Ashley Massaro and Maria Kanellis back there in the stash that is now spread out on the floor that I have to put away in case Zoe does come in here at some point. But yeah, no, she pulls it off. It's the fucking handprint moment. It's one of the most famous Sable moments it's in every fucking Sable highlight. It's what she's known for. This is Playboy era Sable. You know, she, along with Pamela Anderson, is one of the women at this point in time who was on the cover of Playboy more than anyone else. This is one of the, for whatever good or bad you have to say about Sable and her in-ring contributions and what she did and blah, 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 blah. She is one of the biggest things that took WWE to the heights that it did, and their deal with her and Playboy was one of those things, right? Like, flying off the shelf, wrestling fans, that collaboration, business-wise, fucking amazing. And then stayed on. Like, I listed two of a handful of female wrestlers who would then go on with Playboy deals to do things. By the way, fuck Eric Bischoff for talking Stacy Keibler out of doing it. I've heard that story on 83 Weeks, and I'm still mad at him for that shit.
Yeah.
But Vince McMahon comes out to cover up Sable because he's got to pretend like he's a good moral person. Yeah, this is one of the most famous moments of the Attitude Era, and it took place at a random B pay-per-view. This was not SummerSlam. This was not Survivor Series. This was not the Royal Rumble. This was not WrestleMania. It was fucking fully loaded 1998. We don't even do NXT doesn't even do fully loaded.
There were only 3 fully loaded.
There were only 3. Mm-hmm. And Rock and Triple H were the biggest part of 2 of them.
Yep.
So
on the very next one, very next year. Yep. Will, your thoughts on this bikini contest?
They both should have been disqualified because neither one of them were wearing a bikini.
I mean, Sable had bikini bottoms on. Those were bikini bottoms.
Bikini bottoms, yes, but she didn't have the top, so she was halfway there.
If you go topless on a beach and you're wearing a bikini bottom, you can still say you're wearing your bikini, all right? She didn't want tan lines.
Fair, I'm not arguing with you, but, you're indoors at night. But neither here nor there. Jacqueline, however, was whole ass wearing a bathing suit.
Yeah.
A bikini would imply that it was 2 pieces. That was 1 piece.
After I put that country song in DadHat's brain, my question is, because you said you sold something similar at your job. Yeah, Spencer's. I almost said Hot Topic, and I knew that wasn't it.
That's where I am now.
Yeah, I know. Is Borat's, is that considered?
They used to have it.
Is that listed as a bikini? Because this was basically what Borat wore, for the most part.
I don't know what it was. I think it was just listed as like a men's swimwear or something.
A mankini?
Mankini, yeah, actually.
Kini's in it. So does that count as a bikini?
I'm not going to get into the phonetics of it, but no, actually I will, because it's Pride Month, and the prefix of that word is bi, meaning 2, meaning you could both ways, but that's not Happy Pride Month. Bi meaning 2 pieces, bikini, 2 kinis. I only saw 1 kini.
If this was an episode of Smacking Her Raw, 1 kini would be the title.
Yeah. 1 kini. Oh, that's awesome.
That was very much a Katie joke, too.
It was. Mm-hmm. Which I thought of Katie today. I actually sent this to Kate. I saw this meme, and it said that every woman is bi. It's just your job to figure out if it's sexual or polar.
And sometimes both.
Sometimes both. Which is why I sent it to Kate, because she's both.
Boobies. Lots of them.
Yeah, a bunch of boobies.
Also,
I remember when you sent the thing about insurrection, I was like, well, that's the one where Jackie just flashes the crowd. Like,
it is the chicken fight where she gets her top pulled off.
Oh, that's right. Right. Like,
The only person
Jacqueline
that actually
Go ahead. No, finish.
I was
I
gonna
was
say
just going to say Jacqueline's a smoke. We did it again. How does that keep happening?
Just
Matt,
say
go.
go ahead.
Matt,
All right,
go.
the only person I know that has ever flashed the crowd, and I believe it happened twice, and it was also two of the options, was Miss Kitty. So
Yeah.
there was one at Armageddon, I think 99, and then the Royal Rumble 2000. Well, and also Mae Young
yeah.
with the sensor bar that could not contain what was swinging around. So that was a thing.
I need you to cover that as an episode. Will, you're saying?
Jacqueline's a smoke show. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
looking back on it now, 38-year-old Will, Jacqueline was
Oh.
smoking hot, dude.
But
Like,
even her back in the 90s, no ass. Like, she had more of an ass than Sable, but still, I'm like, I don't know what happened between 1990 and 2024 where ass became such a big thing, because now asses are a big thing in more ways than one. Like, we're getting, back then it was all breast implants. Now it's butt implants. Like, we have shifted from upper to lower halves, but like, nobody had an ass in the 90s. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the 90s, I have to share something that I got in my store yesterday. Do y'all remember the pants that you could unzip and turn them into shorts as well?
Yes.
yeah. Fuck yeah.
They're back.
I had a pair of those, and they looked just like the Hardy Boys pants, but then they zipped off below the knees. And they were my
They're
favorite
back.
pair of pants, and I tried to hang on to them, and my mom threw them away, and I wouldn't fit them now, but I'm still upset about that.
One of my
saw
assistant
that.
managers held them up, and I literally fell on the floor laughing. Like, but these have two zippers, so it depends on how long you want the shorts. Do you want them to be like knee length, or do you want them to be like mid quad level?
I can't do the mid-quad thing. I see all these kids running around doing the mid-quad shorts. It's not for me. It's
Yeah,
too
no.
much. It's too much thigh.
I'm gonna sit down. It's gonna be like that one episode of Friends where Phoebe's dating the runner, and all the
Mhm.
goods are just hanging out.
I was about to say to you, I swear to God, the next time I go for a run, I'm going to send you guys a picture of me in my running outfit so you guys can see.
Just Will.
Just dick a flopping. my shorts that come like, you know, just I would get dress coded if I wore these shorts to school.
Yeah. It's so funny though to hear the teens talk about being dress coded, and I'll always be like, the only thing that we got dress coded for when I was in school was the girls had to make sure that their skirts or their shorts were finger length long. Like that was it.
Yep.
That was it. That was all the dress code was. All right. Well, we are now on to the main event, where the Undertaker has arrived. He has arrived to the arena, and they're like, he's only been there for 20 minutes. But that 20 minutes, he had time to change from his street clothes to his gear. This is that weird. I love this time frame for the Undertaker because it's not the dead man slow walk to the ring. Like he doesn't have like I love this. This is like WWF the Music Volume 3, where his music is like an electric guitar, but he's walking to the ring like faster, and I'm like, you're not American Badass. You're not the Dead Man. You're not the Ministry of Darkness. This is just like Undertaker, humanized Undertaker, because he's the brother of Kane. Like, it's such a different thing. But Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin against Kane and Mankind for the tag titles. So tag titles are your main event here. So, I mean, there's 4 Hall of Famers. I mean, let's see, all world champions, all Hall of Famers, all having individual matches against each other in any iteration that you want. Like, I don't know. Will, this has got your boy in it. Why don't you lead us off?
Austin and Mankind, or Austin and Dude Love held the tag titles. Undertaker and Kane held the tag titles. I'm pretty certain that Kane and Austin is the only combination of these 4 that never held the tag titles together. And looking back on it, I was like, this is a really good job of keeping 4 dudes intertwined with each other for so long. because you were talking about the New Age Outlaw stuff. You think about Mankind and Undertaker and what goes on from there leading up to Hell in a Cell and all that, and then everything after, and Kane and the Undertaker and everything Kane becomes, and Stone Cold and all of that. And it's just like they do a great job of keeping these four guys intertwined with each other for the entirety of the Attitude Era. But
this was after the first blood match. This was after King of the Ring and the blood match. Yeah.
Oh yeah. My closing statement on it, though, other than just go watch it because it's an amazing match to see all four. Kane might be the best big man over 7 feet tall to ever do it, but Glenn Jacobs, the person, turned into like a doo-doo head in the biggest fashion.
Oh, no. You promised us to repeat everything that I said about Val Venus at the beginning of the show.
I said to cut it and edit it and just apply it to everything because you were way more eloquent about it. But like Glenn Jacobs turned into this hyper, like, I'm not even going to say which side of the aisle he's on, but if you could imagine just going as far to one side or the other that you could be, like, that's what he is. Like, almost to a point of being an extremist with the way he handles things politically. And it's just like, how did you go from this to that? There is also a guy that follows him on Facebook and responds to all of his political posts as if he's Kane. So he'll be like, family ties are the most important thing on the planet, you know, John 3:16 or whatever. And this dude will be like, you didn't think about that when you tried to light your brother on fire in a coffin. Like,
I didn't know about this, but that's awesome.
I'll find it and send it to you.
Please do.
4 Hall of Famers, great match.
Yeah.
They stayed really close together through the entire Attitude Era and carried it. Like, these guys, then Rock and Triple H, like, it's pretty much the heart of your Attitude Era right here in this pay-per-view.
Well, first off, DadHat, thank you for biding time while I took care of my notoriously tiny bladder. I appreciate that as I ran away. And then also I sat back down, and for whatever reason, my headphones just decided to cut out for a minute, which was weird. But Austin, Taker are 1A, 1B for me. Taker will always be number one. At this point in time, Stone Cold was number one, hands down, period. I have Stone Cold boxers, like PSD boxers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Austin 316 shirts. If I have anything as much of or close to The Undertaker, it's Stone Cold merch. This Kane, also huge fan. You were talking about Undertaker, the entrance, and this is my personal favorite era of The Undertaker.
Same.
Ministry Darkness Undertaker looked really cool. The aesthetic pre this version of The Undertaker, you know, where it's the simple cut off sleeves and the gloves, like, not a huge fan with the mullet and all that. This version of Undertaker against Mankind in Hell in a Cell, against HBK. You talked about matches with The Undertaker, right? Yeah. HBK, Hell in a Cell. Kane's debut. Mankind, Hell in a Cell. There's also a really great match that he has with Stone Cold in this era. The main event that he had of the pay-per-view at WrestleMania 13, where everyone thinks about Austin and Brett, but he's in the main event for the title. Like, my favorite era of Undertaker is this era of The Undertaker. It is fucking fantastic. So to have my two favorite wrestlers as a tag team against two other wrestlers that I really enjoyed, intertwined with the story, because take the Undertaker Kane brothers story aside, one of my favorite stories in pro wrestling is the saga of Undertaker and Paul Bearer. Him going and getting Mankind, turning his back on Undertaker, the Boiler Room Brawl.
Love the Boiler Room Brawl.
That's what hooked me. That's why I started watching wrestling, was seeing that story. That's like, okay, this is interesting. This is cool. This is why I watch. You know, that Mason the Mutilator version of Mankind where he's stabbing himself in the knee and he's playing with rats, and, you know, he does the pig squeal like he's fucking Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, all of that is why I love wrestling. So the main event of this pay-per-view...
Are you trying to give Will a reason to start beating off? Like,
I am. I
have a humongous boner right now. I'm staring at my Mason the Mutilator Mankind picture in my, like, just... beating the meat.
What I was going to say was, if I hadn't come 5 minutes before this to Sable, this is where I would have came. Like, this would have been it. So yeah, no, this is everything. And then, like I said, this is the wrestling like I enjoy, right? It felt like a fight. You have the story behind it. You have the reason, but it's these guys going in and kicking the shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. Austin stomping a mud hole and walking it dry. Undertaker throwing bones. You know, all of the spots and everything that you want. I have my two favorite wrestlers walk out of the end of this pay-per-view as tag team champions. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Like, I didn't even realize when I told it that we only picked this for the Sable. Like that I didn't realize until I got here. I'm like, oh shit, that happened here too. Yeah. I'm getting that on top. This is the cherry on top of the titty cake that this pay-per-view is supposed to be.
On top of the titty cake.
I mean, and they're laying in thick with commentary too, like on the highway to hell, on the way to SummerSlam. Like it's which SummerSlam '98 is my favorite SummerSlam ever.
I was so into this match, which doesn't really happen. Like a lot of the stuff, I pay attention, I watch. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool move. But like most of it's on in the background as I'm like on my phone sending tweets or looking stuff up or taking notes, and it's kind of happening. I was so into this match, I realized I took the notes literally say Taker's here, a brawl mixed in with wrestling, and then the next note is I was so into this match I didn't take notes, but Taker and Austin win. Yeah. Like
it was good. I mean, it's a reason why you look at these four and you like. There's a reason they're Hall of Famers. There's a reason they were all world champions. There's a reason why their resume speaks for themselves. Like, put four of them together. You're not going to get shit. You're going to get gold. So,
and you mentioned how Rock and Triple H were your shit, right? Like, yeah. So you have that as your mid card, and then this is your main event. 6 of the biggest names in professional wrestling history, 2 running the mid card, 4 on top in a tag team title match. The WWF Championship isn't even on the line in this fucking pay-per-view.
Didn't even have to.
Doesn't matter. Like, this was my match of the night, but it had everything I wanted in it and more. So
it was a good main event. It always boggles me when people are like, "You can't have tag team matches as a main event." Fuck yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
And I'm one of the biggest proponents for like I don't like odd couple tag teams. I don't like you putting the tag belts on main eventers and stuff like that. But here it worked.
Yeah,
it did,
and it added to the story leading into SummerSlam. Like,
yeah, on occasion, like the 2-man power trip with Triple H, and like on occasion, it fucking works. It's a good idea. You don't do it too much for no reason, but when there's a story reason for it, it's fucking great. And this was one of them.
Yep.
Taker left with both belts, said, fuck you, Stone Cold. Like, walked away, both titles. I loved it.
Well, folks, we did it. Then I can probably say that, Matt, congratulations. You were on the longest episode we have ever had of this podcast. I'm just going to go to work now after I get off here. Like, I'm just going to go take a shower and go to work now. But it was a blast. I appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you back again.
I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Yeah, I will stay up late again for you anytime. Well, let's plug all the shit, and then we're going to jump off here. Matt, the floor is yours.
Smacking It Raw is the #1 wrestling podcast on places where you can find people having sex on the internet. You guys can catch us live every Saturday at twitch.tv/CreationWorld, youtube.com/CreationWorld. You can follow me on all socials at Matt Ritter. That is at MATTRIDDER on Twitter for your wrestling, at Getting Off for your horror content, and everywhere else at Smacking It Raw, whether it is Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or Blue Sky.
Will?
I have no idea what Blue Sky is. I've heard you say that hundreds of times, and I still don't know what it is.
You know, your co-host for Nerdy News at 420 today is the one that hooked us up with Blue Sky, so you might want to ask her.
Really?
But Mr. Warren Hayes is on there. It's one of the only, like, that and Discord are the only ways I can talk to him now because he left Twitter.
Yeah, I talked to him on Instagram, or I did, but I didn't know what Blue Sky was. I've always heard it. I just didn't know. I'm the Will Gray. If you check my link tree anywhere you do anything on the internet, you'll find everything that I do for Rivet City Radio, Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots, World Championship Wreckage, and my writing profile for Last Word on Sports.
I am DadHat Wrestling. You can find me on every social media platform, DadHat Wrestling. Of course, World Championship Wreckage as well on all social media platforms. Please give us a like and a subscribe and a comment and all that good thing. You know, we got good stuff going on. It's nice to actually be able to get with Will and do an episode. We're kind of back on track now, at least once a week, if not every other week. Will, what did you decide we're going to go with that for the next episode?
We're going to do Raw and Nitro the night, January 4th, 1999, okay. When Foley won his first title against The Rock. But I specifically want to cover the last hour of both shows.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's what I want. I want to talk about what's happening. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to watch the last hour of both shows and do like a minute-by-minute breakdown of what each show is doing for that last hour. And I want to talk about it up until the words that Shivani says. I've been writing notes down this whole episode. After Matt gave me the idea for it, I was like, that's genius.
Awesome. We'll let XLJ know so he can jump in there too. So
yeah.
All right, folks. Well, for Matt, for Will, for myself, I appreciate it. We're going to end the episode like we do every week. Wise words from the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, baby, I got one more thing to say. Your gas tank is full. Your dipstick is in. Your windows washed. Y'all come back and see me again.